Hello everybody! Today I wanted to talk a little bit about power supplies in a computer and just how possibly easy it might be to replace these. Because really the difficulty in terms of replacing components on a computer boil down a lot now to just being cautious about static electricity and making sure that you don't hurt the components within the computer. But it's not that difficult anymore to really maintain the pieces inside a computer. I'll show a little bit of footage of taking this power supply out of my main computer and putting in a new power supply. Anyway, here we go. This is a Vampire 1000 watt power supply. I'm swapped this out with a 650 watt power supply that was in my computer before, and the process was surprisingly simple. While the power supply I replaced was not bad by any means, this is just a more powerful power supply. As all I really had to do was make sure that I had the right cables plugged into these ports here, and I plugged in what I needed and didn't put in anything else. This allowed me to keep my cable management a little bit more succinct and allow more airflow in the computer. I'm a fan of having wires out of the way when it comes to the computer, because doing proper cable management will allow you to keep a good airflow inside the compartment of the computer and prevent overheating. After pulling out the power supply, checking for dust, and cleaning out any dust that might need to be removed is also a good idea, just because dust will gum up fans and make it a little bit more difficult. And then when reinstalling the new power supply, just making sure that you get your wires in the right spot where you're happy with them and getting them out of the way so that they don't block off airflow makes for a very happy computer. From there, like you can see, this isn't a terribly difficult process. This probably took me just a little under an hour, just because I was trying to be careful. And in the end, I feel like it was a great swap out. It didn't cause me very many problems, and I was able to keep things relatively managed in terms of the cables and keep the airflow maximum within this computer case. While it may seem like working on the inside of a tower computer is going to be a rough and horrible experience, most of the components today are plug and play. They have very specifically shaped and sized connectors. You just got to plug in things exactly the way they are shown on their receiving side. Almost 99% of the time it works out. It is always a good precaution to make sure that you keep things clean, as airflow will start to get hindered, and with less airflow you get more heat, and more heat will result in sooner failure for the computer. But in the end, it really just boils down to just being cautious and making sure that you plug in what needs to be plugged in, and after that, everything should work. Thank you for joining me for this fun little tutorial of swapping out a power supply. The new power supply will help me out for several years, as it will make it easier to upgrade components in my computer without worrying about power requirements. So in my travels, I find that it's really fun to observe the signs that you see around the world. A lot of cultures try to adapt and make signs that are logical for their culture, but to our culture they're a little bit more funny. This sign in particular I found in England, which is basically the same thing as danger high voltage that we use here in the United States. And I chose to show this picture today because it is a good reminder of the fact that you are working with an electronic component when you are dealing with computers. And if you're going to start opening up a computer, you got to be aware of how to keep yourself neutrally balanced in terms of static electricity, and not pick up a static charge before you touch electronic components, because those can fry the bits and pieces of the computer. And there are even some cases where if you forget to unplug the computer, you could touch something that could severely hurt you. So do keep in mind, when it comes to electronic components, there is a danger of death. And even though it's not a very high voltage, you can hurt either you or the computer, and that either costs you time of recovery or it costs more money to get more components. So take it with a grain of salt. Like and subscribe if you want to keep up to date with more videos that I'll be putting out. I will do my best to put them out every Friday. It's an honor to have you here. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next week.